Welcome to a Legendarium special about the Greek magical papyri, a collection of spells both sublime and strange. The Greek magical papyri, as they are often called, is a collection of Greco-Roman magical spells, rituals, remedies, and hymns. Scholars have placed their writing between the 2nd and 5th century AD, during the long Roman occupation. For those who originally wrote the papyri, magic would have been as much a part of everyday life as work, food, and sleep. It played a role in religious rituals, medicine, and interacting with the unseen powers of the universe. The papyri, originally obtained by a diplomat named Jean d'Anastasy sometime in the early 19th century, came from a single collector out of Turkish-ruled Thebes. Due to the suppression of pagan texts by the early church, they could not be circulated widely until they came to be seen as harmless antiquities, not real and powerful books of magic. It is written in a combination of Greek and Egyptian text, a fusion that took place during the rule of the Greek-speaking Ptolemy dynasty in Egypt. Since written Egyptian remained the closely guarded secret of the Egyptian priesthoods, it is likely that native Egyptians who had learned Greek wrote the original text. Among its pages are a plethora of protection spells, love magic, victory charms, and invocations of the gods and goddesses. Strikingly, the spells center on appealing to the gods in both the Greek and Egyptian pantheons. The most commonly found spells in the papyri are divination spells, which centered on ceremonies that offered the user visions of the future. One of its most well-known passages provided instructions for how to forecast upcoming events. It involved an iron lampstand, an offering of frankincense, and an uncorrupted and pure child. After being placed into a deep trance, the child saw images flickering in the flame that offered visions of things yet to come. Among the papyri's most famous components is the Mithras liturgy. This ceremony describes how to rise through the 7 higher planes of existence and speak with the god Mithras. Of course, some spells dealt with the land of the living. More than 2,000 years before H.G. Wells wrote The Invisible Man, ancient Greeks wrote an invisibility spell within the Greek magical papyri. Described as a great work in the text, it involved taking the eye of an ape that died a violent death and a penny-rose plant. Both had to be rubbed with oil of lily right to left while the practitioner recited a spell to the Egyptian gods Anubis and Osiris. Afterwards, the practitioner rubbed their face with the concoction. To become visible once more, they would move from west to east. No word on successful tests or if you had to take your clothes off to become completely invisible. The Greek historian Herodotus famously called Egypt the gift of the Nile. It provided fertile farmland and reliable transportation, enough for the ancient Egyptians to found a kingdom that endured for 3,000 years. However, what could one do on the Nile River without a boat? Another spell claimed that a practitioner could summon a crocodile by sitting down and saying, "Hear me, you who live your life in the water. I am one who is at leisure in heaven, and goes about in water, and in fire, and in air, and earth. Return the favor done you on the day when I created you, and you made your request to me. You will take me to the other side, for I am so-and-so." There is no word on if anyone survived the crocodile crossing, but I advise not trying it at home. On the subject of life and death, to be immortal sounds rather far-fetched, but according to the Greek magical papyri, it is within the realm of possibility. The author claimed it to be one of the mysteries handed down not for gain, but for instruction. The spell is an invocation to the goddesses Psyche and Tyche. It involved a long series of prayers and invocations, which would end with the practitioner being lifted into the air by unseen hands. They would hear nothing of either man or beast, but they would only see the gods. If the gods found the practitioner worthy after speaking with them for a time, then they would gift him or her the power to make another person immortal. This second step involved an immortality ointment made from lotus, honey, and rose oil. Of course, not all these spells have the potential to remake the cosmos. Some are quite silly. One spell gave users the power to give men drinking at symposiums donkey snouts. It involved taking a wick from a lamp, dipping it in donkey blood, making new lamps with the blood-dipped wick, then touching the drunkards with it. Another spell involved anointing the rear end of a man with the brain of an electric eel. If done properly, they would not be able to stand up the next time they bent over. Yet another spell allowed one to start a fight at the banquet by throwing a dog-bitten stone into the middle of the floor. Finally, one could make wine go sour by throwing burning pebbles into it, which I imagine would do just as much to sour the mood at the symposium. That wraps things up for this episode of the Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.